Welcome back to TC Talk Sports, soon to be the #1 sports channel on YouTube. I'm back today with another NBA team preview. But before I get into today's team, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm doing previews for every single team in the NBA, so wouldn't it be nice to get a little notification whenever each one comes out? I think so. So definitely hit that subscribe button. Follow on TikTok, TC Talk Sports. You can either go to the app and type it in, or you just go to the bio here on YouTube, click that link, give that page a follow. All will be greatly appreciated. Now, enough of that self-promoting. I'm going to do what you guys came here for. Number 3 on the NBA team preview list, it's the Charlotte Hornets. Let's get into it. Last season, the Charlotte Hornets were just not a good team. No easy way to put that, no nice way to put that. They went 21-61. That was 13th in the East. They scored 106.6 points per game. That ranked near last. It was 28th in the NBA. And on the defensive side, they gave up 116 points per game, 22nd in the NBA. So they really struggled on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. They dealt with some injuries, but overall, not a good year for Charlotte. The biggest blow to that team, really the last couple years, but mostly last year, was starting point guard LaMelo Ball. He got injured. He was limited to 22 games last year, but in those 22 games, he averaged 23.9 points per game. That was a career high for him. 8 assists, 5 rebounds, also threw in 7 double-doubles and 1 triple-double just in 22 games. But as I mentioned, injuries have almost killed his career so far. He's been able to put up numbers when he's on the floor, which is good, but he just has to stay healthy in order for this team to be any type of successful. He is a really good player, so I assume he's going to be on another team in the next couple years. But last year he was dealing with some ankle injuries, and really that's plagued him throughout his whole career. He's only played 58 games in the last 2 seasons combined. But I think the one bright spot for the Charlotte Hornets last year, whenever LaMelo Ball was out with injury, was Miles Bridges really stepped up for this team. He set a career high with 21 points per game, also a career high in rebounds, averaging 7.3. He shot 35% from 3. He's not a good three-point shooter, but he had to step up last year to create more offense for the short-handed Hornets team. But overall, I think he's a good player. He's a good piece for this Hornets team. Threw in 19 double-doubles as well last season. I mean, he can score, he can rebound. He's an aggressive player. The defense isn't sensational, but he's a hard worker and definitely a key piece for this Charlotte Hornets team going into the 2025 season. Although it wasn't a great year for Charlotte last season, they did have another bright spot in rookie Brandon Miller. They took him with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Coming into his 2nd year now, he averaged 17 points per game last season. He shot 37% from 3 while averaging 6.7 three-point attempts per game. I mean, that's a lot. This year, I'm expecting him to shoot even more, especially with the playmaker LaMelo Ball back on the floor. Could get Miller open for some more shots. I'm going to predict about 7 or 8 three-pointers per game. In the summer league and preseason, he's been firing off threes left and right, and that's a strong suit, really. Coming out of Alabama last season for his rookie year, everybody knew that that's what he was known for, and he showed it last season. He was in the finals for Rookie of the Year, of course, losing to Victor Wembanyama because nobody had a chance at beating him. Brandon Miller also pulling in 4.3 rebounds per game for Charlotte. 6'8", 6'9", whatever you want to call it. He can play the small forward position. He can move up and play the 4. He's not a very good defender, but the league is pretty much offense-based now, and he definitely fits the scheme of the NBA now of being a long, lanky wing player that can knock down threes. Even though the Hornets had a relatively terrible year last season, they didn't do too much in the offseason. They did draft KJ Simpson out of Colorado. He's 6'2", 190. I mean, obviously small in stature, but he's a really good scorer. He can really fill up the rim. Being that small, he's also a very efficient scorer as well. He was first-team All-Pac-12 last season in Colorado. He averaged 19.7 points per game, 4.9 assists. I said he was only 6'2", 190. He averaged 5.8 rebounds per game for Colorado as well, while shooting 43% from beyond the arc. And if the Hornets want to focus on offense, I think they got the right guy, even though he is small. It's like the 3rd time I've said that now. He was a really good college basketball player, so it's going to be interesting to see how that size works out for him in the NBA, but with the ball in his hands, he's a good ball handler, very good playmaker. And as I said, 43% from three. That's really good, especially if he can maintain that throughout his rookie year. Hornets were also able to scoop up Josh Green, the shooting guard from the Dallas Mavericks, who casual basketball fans probably don't know this name, but he was really good for the Mavericks last year. He only scores a couple points per game, about an assist, maybe a rebound or two per game, but he's a very good on-ball defender, and he can hit threes whenever he's open. We saw that in the playoffs last year with the Mavericks. Luka or Kyrie would drive in, kick out to Josh Green in the corner or the wing, and he was a good three-point shooter. I'm not going to say really good, but I think he will also help the offense for this Hornets team, but I think they brought him in mostly for his defense. He's a good on-ball defender, and I think it'll help with some of those big scoring games that the Hornets gave up last season. Players to watch for the Charlotte Hornets going into this 2025 season, I have two guys. First, it's Tre Mann. He's going into his fifth season, his now second season with the Charlotte Hornets. He played 28 games last season, but if you watch the end of the season last year when the Hornets were dealing with injuries, he was a good player, playing the point guard, playing shooting guard. He averaged 9.3 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 4 assists. And as I mentioned, he got to start in a few games towards the end of the year last year, and he played well. He can kind of do everything for this Hornets team. He's going to be coming off the bench unless we see another LaMelo Ball injury or even Brandon Miller or Josh Green, really, because I think Miller will be the 3, Green will be the 2. So most of the minutes for Mann are going to come off the bench, and he's a solid player. I'm telling you, he's not going to fill up the stat sheets, but if you are a basketball freak like me and you like watching these role players and bench guys play, keep your eye out for Tre Mann. He's going to be impactful and make differences in a few games for the Hornets this year. Next is Nick Smith Jr. If you were a big college basketball fan 2 years ago, you know him from the University of Arkansas. He's now coming into his second season with the Hornets. He played 51 games last season. These numbers aren't going to blow you away, but 5.9 points per game, about an assist per game. But if you watch him in college, you know that he's capable of being a good, maybe a very good NBA player. He's super explosive, super quick, very athletic. Shot selection is a little wild at times, but if he gets a full head of steam going downhill towards the rim, he's tough to stop. And I think this Hornets team is a great place for him to be playing. There's a lot of opportunity there, especially with LaMelo Ball's injuries in the past. He's basically just destined to get hurt this year. I don't want that to happen because Ball was one of the most entertaining and fun players to watch in all of the NBA. But this team is a good opportunity for young guys to play off the bench, and I think we'll see Nick Smith Jr. do that this season. My prediction, it's an easy one. They finished 13th in the East last year. They were without Melo Ball for 75% of the season, but I just don't think they have the right pieces to make a playoff run right now. My prediction, they're going to miss the playoffs and finish at the bottom of the East. I don't want to say last because there's some other teams that aren't going to be great in the East. Maybe 13th, 12th, but I could see them as low as 14th in the East, but they're definitely going to miss the playoffs. But on the bright side, this team should be fun to watch and a good team to rebuild with if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan.